Okay, so like I just said, you've taken notes on this. Most of you have taken notes on this. But what I want to do is talk about bacteria and the cell of bacteria. We've said this before, but I'm going to go through into it a little bit more. And then we're going to talk about how they kind of grow a little bit. So the first thing that we need to do is draw a bacterial cell, okay? A general bacterial cell. And as you guys saw before, there are three shapes. We've got some that are spherical, some that are more rod-like, and they can actually be a rod, or they can be more like a sausage, kind of like that, okay? And the other one is that they can be a spiral shape, like this. Now, of course, they're all three-dimensional. You guys with me on this? Okay? So all three of these are going to have the same things, okay? So the number one thing that they have in the inside is what? There's two things on the inside that are important. What's one?
Genetic material, DNA.
The DNA, yep. Okay? And then what else? So, and ribosomes. And the ribosomes are there to make more DNA. Everybody with me on this? Okay, so that's what's in the inside. And then, of course, all the blank space in here is like cytoplasm. You guys with me on that? It's not hollow. There's fluid in the inside that kind of supports the cell, and it has to be filled. It's like a balloon. You know what I mean? If you don't have anything in the inside of a balloon, it's flat. But if you put air in the balloon or water in the balloon, then it has substance. Okay, guys? Okay. Now, some of these bacteria have a cell wall and some do not. Okay? Some have and some do not. So I'm going to draw one with a cell wall. And I'm going to leave the rest without a cell wall. Okay? And so some antibiotics work differently with some because they attack the cell wall or maybe this cell membrane. So depending on if they have a cell wall or not, what these antibiotics do is they actually attack the wall or the lining and put holes in it. And then if it has holes, then the stuff goes out. Okay? Hold on one sec. So that's how antibiotics can work and can attack them. Okay? Now, I've talked about the fact, and then the other part, the white part would be what? What would the white part be?
Membrane.
The cell membrane, right, everybody? So it's got a membrane that controls what goes into and out of the cell. And that's basically the inside of a cell. That's it, period, done deal. No nucleus, no organelles. It has ribosomes and it has protein, and that's about what it has, okay? So then we got to talk about the exterior. Okay? Now, the exterior can really, really vary quite a bit. Okay? The first thing I'm going to talk about is, have you guys noticed, have you touched a dog dish bowl?
Yeah.
Or, your shower curtain in what exactly? I heard somebody say it. It's slimy. You guys with me on that? If it stays wet, it gets slimy. Some of the stuff you guys touched yesterday is slimy, right? In my fish tank, I have a fish tank in my room. You guys don't get to see it now. But that fish tank, if you touch the filter, it's slimy, right? Well, the reason it's slimy is because of this layer. That. It's like a slime layer. Literally is a slime layer. Okay, we call that the capsule. And the reason that it has that is so that it's easier to move around. And it protects it a little bit. So it actually has a slime layer on the outside called the capsule. All right? So this blue I should write in cell wall. Everybody with me so far? Okay? And so that can move around. That can help them move around. And anytime that you feel the slime, you're grossed out, you should be grossed out because it's a layer of bacteria. Solid layer of bacteria. Okay? Now, how do they get around? They don't do the worm thing and expand and contract. They have things that help them do this. Some of them have things like this. That's called the flagella. Okay? Some can have little things like this. And those are called cilia. And they're little hairs. And those little hairs kind of move, and so it can cruise around. So that's also why it has that capsule. It's got the hairs that kind of beat together and can help it move. All right, so they can have a big whip. They can have one flagella. That's one long tail. They could maybe have two flagellas. It kind of depends on the exact organism. Just like, you know, birds and mammals and every other thing, they're all a little bit different. Okay, this is just kind of general things that they can have. Okay, you guys with me on this? Okay, so basically they have flagella or they can have cilia. Yes?
So for the flagella and the cilia, do they like connect to like the capsule or the cell wall, or do they connect like directly out of the cell membrane?
They're connected to the membrane. I didn't do a very good job of drawing that. So they're actually connected to the membrane or to the wall.
Okay.
Yep, so it would grow right out of there. Everybody with me? Remember we looked at the membrane and there was two parts of the membrane? Okay. It would just grow out of there and it would be a part of that. Just like the proteins were in there, it would just be an extension of that. Okay? And then the other part that they have, sometimes these bacteria are able to sexually reproduce. Okay, and their sex is a lot different than human sex or animal sex. What it is it is a little tube that they have, and it allows them literally to hook up with another one. Check this out. And they can actually just exchange DNA. So the DNA would go through this tube and go here and would go here. And they would exchange information. Kind of like people do when they date. You know what I mean? But if a bacteria has resistance to an antibiotic, what they would do is this bacteria here would share it with this one. And guess what all of a sudden this bacteria in the left has? Resistance to the antibiotic as well. You guys with me on that? Okay, so are they really sexually reproducing? Not truly sexually reproducing. They're not. They still only reproduce asexually, except the fact that what that does is it gives them the ability to share genetic information instead of just being the same all the time. That may, and it can be between strains of bacteria sometimes too. So what that does is it keeps that bacteria evolving and changing. You guys know what I mean? That's a good thing for the bacteria and a very bad thing for us. Because now we have bacteria, who are resistant to our antibiotics. Our medicines no longer work on some of them. Have you guys heard of antibiotic-resistant genes? Have you heard of that? Mm-hmm. Okay, have you guys ever taken an antibiotic and the antibiotic didn't work? You know why it didn't work? Because they can do this. Because they do that. So if one antibiotic or if one bacteria does not die from the antibiotic and it passes that information on how not to die, then the second one has it. You guys with me on this? And pretty soon, over the course of 5 or 10 years, if that continues to happen, all those bacteria are resistant to an antibiotic. So it's important that you guys take all of your antibiotics. You take them all, because which are going to die right away? The strongest ones or the weakest ones? The weakest die. And then you feel good. But the strong ones are continuing to grow, aren't they? So you need to keep your antibiotics going so you don't get sick. Okay? And so anyway, this blue thing is called either a pili or pilus. That's the name of it. And it allows for, I'll write this out, allows for DNA exchange. You guys good with that? Okay, so that is kind of the three types of bacteria and the parts of bacteria. Are we good? There's a quiz that you guys can take on this later on. Okay, I want to go through a couple more things then. Oh, I forgot to label these. So this one is called coccus. This another one is bacillus. And this one is spirilli. Okay, and I have 4 minutes. I got to get this done and we're going to move on. So, if I have bacteria and they grow in a chain, that is called strep. Strepto. Okay? If I have them in a pair, it's called diplo. If I have them in a cluster, like grapes, that's called staphylo. You guys with me on this? Have you heard of staphylococcus before?
Yeah.
Staph infections?
Oh, yeah.
That is, staph is a cluster of circular bacteria. Staph coccus. You guys with me on that? How about strep? Have you guys heard of strep throat?
Yes.
Okay, this is, what would this one be called here? Streptococcus. How about this one? It's diplococcus. What if I do this? What's this? Diplobacillus. Right on. How about this? Hold on. I'm not a great artist, but are you getting what I'm doing here?
Yeah.
What's that? Staphylospirilli. So the names of bacteria come from how they grow. Everybody with me on that? Okay. I have a worksheet over there that allows you to go through and practice this stuff, and then you can take a quiz on this information as well. It's on parts of the bacteria. It's on naming the bacteria like I just went through. So this video is out there for you guys. You can watch this again. You can take better notes or you can take some notes. Some was a repeat from your book, wasn't it? Some was new learning. Okie doke. Any questions on that? All right, I'll shut her down there.